welcome back to Engineers Workshop. Every year around Thanksgiving, I do a shop update, and I call it my Thanksgiving shop update. Sometimes it's a post-Thanksgiving shop update. This year it's a little early, but we'll just go ahead and do that now. So been working on a number of projects, kind of for different things, a little bit for my son, a little bit for myself, a little bit for necessities. But you've seen some of them recently, the Bosch fuel injection pump repair. That is up and running, got those parts back from the fabricator, or not fabricator, the rebuilder. He didn't even know that the pump body had been repaired, which I guess is a good sign. So that is up and running. I mean, he has driven the car. Leave the videos on that to show on his channel, which is called The Facility. But that was a nail biter, so three-part video. Check that out if you like. Currently working on a boring head for this part right here. This is the arm, stationary arm for a DeWalt 16-inch radial arm saw that was cracked and repaired, and I've got to rebore this to a smooth bore for the pivoting quill and the traveling arm. And I had remade my left-hand thread lock piece here. So that is currently in the works. Got a couple of new items of tooling, let's call it. So I will show you those, and just a quick walk around in the shop of a couple things that we've got going on to improve the lighting and eventual enclosing of this shop space. So let's go handheld and I'll show it to you. New item for the shop today, boy, pardon the rain. This is a 18 by 24 EC Reed cast iron surface plate. It's a little beat up, but I'm going to basically go over the top surface with my son's body file and see if there's any raised areas, and we can stone it down and check it out on the bigger granite surface plate, see how it checks out. It's got handling holes here. You could stick a rod in each end. I guess you could flip this over and use it as a lapping plate. So pretty neat find. Price was right. Pretty much what I expected. Every little ding has a raised area around it, so this is going to take some work to get reconditioned. I may end up fly cutting the surface on the K&T. There's 3 mounting feet, and the 2 mounting feet here are wider than the table of the K&T, but if I get a slightly wider parallel bar to set it on, maybe take a fly cut on that parallel bar and the 3rd pad, then I know that K&T trams within a few tenths all along its surface because it's got a fully supported bed, unlike a Bridgeport. So we'll have some fun playing with this and reconditioning it. To help fixture the cast iron surface plate for potential fly cutting of this surface, I got a couple of 246 blocks, otherwise known as Brian blocks, and these can be bolted to the outermost T-slots of the K&T and let them stick out on either side, and that'll allow that cast iron surface plate to overhang. I can use the offset of the rotary head to reach the entire surface. If you need a size comparison for your head as to a 1, 2, 3 block, there you have it. I mean, pretty impressive, but figured I'd need at least a pair of these, and I know Brian probably has a couple dozen sitting around. Maybe he's got some 4, 8, 12 blocks as well. I don't know if that's a thing. One more item I did want to show you. Incidentally, I did get some plywood here to cover up the surface of my 4 foot by 4 foot granite inspection table. Since I am using it as temporary storage, I know you're not supposed to do that, but I wanted to at least protect the surface. So this little bit of a holy grail factor going on here. This is a Starrett cutter clearance gauge. And what's the number on this guy? 459. You know, these do come up on eBay. I don't want to say with regularity, but to find one in an original case and where everything is in good condition, you know, that was the goal for this. A little bit of cleanup necessary on it, but it's all there. And there's some really good videos on how to use this on DD's channel or his second channel, Don Dyer. So I was glad to pick up one of these at a reasonable price. It's necessary for using the Cincinnati No. 2 tool and cutter grinder and getting the best results, you know, on your cutters and setting clearance angles and stuff. So neat tool in its original case. He kept in the conditioned tooling cabinet. And we got a unboxing of a mystery cutter. And you're going to see this thing and you're going to say, oh, what a piece of crap. But it was cheap and I have a use for it, an experimental use. So I'm not too concerned about its construction. So this has a couple of steel inserts here. It's actually decently made. I mean, hopefully the welds are okay. But clean this up. And hopefully it's balanced enough to run at a high speed because I want to make an experimental woodworking cutter out of this. So we'll see what we can do with it. Now this is not something that is really even supposed to be repairable. This is an HVAC fan motor from a very old residential air conditioner, probably 50s or 60s. And the front motor bearing, these are just oil light type bearings, was so worn out that the rotor is able to hit the stator and it just hums. So I'm going to see if I can remachine this with some fixtures, possibly sleeve it with another piece of oil light material and get everything reassembled in this housing because I cannot find a match for this particular motor diameter. The abrasive number 1.5 surface grinder has kind of taken a back seat to other projects, but I did manage to get the wheel guard cleaned up and painted, the worm screw holder, and the gearbox is cleaned up and painted, ready to be reassembled after I remove the flash rust on it that is developed. But came up with a good way in my mind to dress the face of the arbor, which I think I had mentioned at some time when I initially showed you this machine, took a little bit of a hit. So there's a little bit of a run out. And you know, the let's call it the axial run out. Now the radial run out is not an issue because you can dress the bottom of the wheel and get rid of that. But the whole face of this wobbles, few thousandths. And so I'm going to dress that flat again, true to the running axis of the grinder, by running the grinder motor on a VFD, slow it down, and then using the DoMore tool post grinder mounted to the table and come across the face of that, and we'll be able to grind that face perfectly true. Rosenfors mill is still waiting its turn in the line. Did recondition the quill clamp for this. Nice monstrous 8-inch quill. So that guy's ready to go. Ready to do some hogging cuts when the time comes. This is one I will show you in its own video or series of videos. It's an LW Chuck indexer. And the body of the indexer is over here. Currently trying to get the chuck mount plate, which is on a threaded protrusion, and it will not release itself. So I'm going to make a clamp that goes onto this face. It's something I can grab with probably my biggest pipe wrenches and see if I can get this to turn and come off. And in process we have the, was this Brown & Sharpe? Excuse me, Bridgeport. Bridgeport number 2 boring head with the jig bore style extension. So we have the final installment of that video to do. That is work in progress. Been doing some work with the lift-aloft, still coming in handy. And what we're doing is preparing this opening, this doorway, to be divided up. We're going to have a 36-inch man door here. Then we're going to have the 10-foot roll-up door, which you can see on tail end is on the agricultural sprayer trailer, and the front end is on the pallet jack. So that's going to go in the middle, essentially all the way up to that first girt. And my son and I are experimenting with fluorescent lighting. We have 40 single tube fluorescent lights that came off of like Hallmark card displays. I've had them for many, many years and was using them to light up the small barn. But my son has been converting these to use the LED strips, which basically means you take the ballast out and rewire it to just have the 4-foot LED strip in there. And so we're going to have 2 bays of 2 lights in every one of these bays. So that's a 25-foot bay over there. That'll have 4, 4, 4, 4, and eventually 4 when that wall is enclosed. And then also have that same configuration on the other side of the building. And these, we originally had them pointing more downward, and half of the light was going essentially outside of the building, or it would have been just lighting up the wall. So we picked them up and put them vertically, and they kick the light out a lot better. So it's not going to be all the light that this building needs, but it's going to brighten it up enough to where, you know, we can just have task lighting, and you'll be able to walk around with those and not trip. So that's a work in progress, as is everything else here. You see parts for the radial arm saw on the radial arm saw over here. The table saw is there. Have a couple of very massive rollers. Got these from the same gentleman where I bought the Rosenfors. These are stock rollers, and this top flips down. I think it just comes down this way. So there's 2 different heights, And got these for essentially scrap price, but they're really nice for setting up on either end of the Rosenforce table. If you're milling some long stock, those will come in handy. And I think that is the height that they had set one of these up for, was the table height they were working with on the Rosenforce mill. Well, I know that wasn't a very long one, but I hope you enjoyed the updates on some of the projects in progress and a couple of the new items that I managed to pick up over the last few months. So with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday upcoming. We'll try to do the same. And as always from Engineers Workshop, till next time, stay safe.